Most people read 2 Corinthians 9:8 like a soft, comforting encouragement, a nice spiritual pat on the back, something you quote when you need to feel better about life being tight, stressful, or uncertain. But if you've ever wondered why this verse hasn't fully manifested in your finances, your opportunities, or your ability to live in overflow, it's not because the verse isn't powerful. It's because you were never shown the system behind it. 2 Corinthians 9:8 isn't describing a feeling. It's describing a circuit, a quantum loop, where supply doesn't just come to you but moves through you in a continuous flow. And once you understand that, the verse stops being inspirational and becomes mechanical, predictable, activatable. Before we go deeper, hit that like button so this teaching reaches the people who need it most. And if anything hits you along the way, drop a comment. Your insight might be the confirmation someone else has been praying for. Let's get into it. The verse says, "And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, so that in all things at all times, having all you need, you will abound in every good work." Now pause for a moment. All things, at all times, having all you need, abound in every good work. That is not describing survival mode. That is not describing paycheck-to-paycheck living. That is not describing fear, stress, or hoping something miraculous happens. This is describing a life running on a different frequency. A life plugged into a different system. A life where you aren't the container of abundance, you are the conduit. And that one shift changes everything. Let me show you what I mean. Most people try to receive from God the same way they receive electricity from the grid. They plug in only when they're desperate. They unplug the moment they feel okay. They expect a surge of power to hit them when everything else collapses. But the kingdom doesn't work like that. Grace doesn't work like that. The quantum field doesn't work like that. The flow isn't turned on because you're in need. The flow turns on when you're in alignment. And 2 Corinthians 9:8 is describing that alignment. A circuit, a loop, a spiritual, energetic pathway where giving, receiving, opportunity, and overflow all participate in a synchronized frequency. Let me explain this using something simple. Picture the ocean. Waves don't start and stop. They move in cycles, in a rhythm, in a continuous loop of motion. You don't own the wave. You don't hold the wave. You ride it. Money works the same way. Opportunities work the same way. Provision, ideas, relationships, resources, all flow in cycles. So when Paul says God is able to make all grace abound, he's not talking about a one-time blessing. He's talking about stepping onto a wave that never stops moving. You don't force it. You ride it. But here's the challenge. Most people don't ride the wave. They block it. They want abundance to flow to them while holding on to an internal identity built on fear, lack, or scarcity. But you can't receive from a flow you're resisting. In physics, this is called impedance. In spirituality, it's called unbelief. In energy work, it's called misalignment. Different names, same effect. Flow stops. If you've ever wondered why financial stress returns every few months, why opportunities rise and fall unpredictably, or why abundance feels temporary, it's because you're experiencing flow interruptions, not flow failures. And once you understand this verse, you'll see exactly how to fix the interruptions. Let's break the verse into its quantum components. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you. This part describes the field, the infinite supply, the source, the energy, opportunity, and provision that already exists, waiting for you to become compatible with it. Grace is God being nice. Grace is a frequency, a vibration, A state of consciousness where you're not operating from lack, fear, or self-preservation, but from trust, generosity, and alignment. Grace isn't passive. It's the engine of abundance. But here the key. So that in all things at all times. This part describes the continuity of the circuit. Grace isn't meant to be seasonal. It's meant to be constant, persistent, non-stop. Which means if you're not experiencing abundance continually, it's not because the source changed. It's because the circuit got interrupted. This is where the Philippians got it right. This is where Paul operated. This is where people who live in overflow, not flashes of abundance, have figured out the pattern. Their lives don't operate from need. They operate from participation. And this is what most believers miss. The kingdom flow is triggered not by desperation, but by distribution. Let me say that again, because this might be the line that breaks something open for you. The kingdom flow is triggered not by desperation, but by distribution. What you give determines the circuit you activate. Not because God rewards giving, but because giving is the signal that opens the channel. Think of it this way. When you hold on to everything you have, money, ideas, time, generosity, you collapse your energy field. You shrink your frequency. You reinforce the belief, I don't have enough, so I must protect what little I have. And the quantum field mirrors that belief, because it always mirrors your internal state. But when you release something, anything, with intention, boldness, and trust, your energy field expands. You step out of survival mode. You step into creator mode. You activate the circuit. And the moment that circuit activates, flow begins. Not because God suddenly decided to bless you, but because you finally stepped into resonance with the river that was flowing the whole time. Let me share a quick story. A guy messaged me once saying, "Every time I get a little extra money, something breaks, something goes wrong, or some bill shows up and takes it away." Sound familiar? And I told him that's not bad luck, that's flow correction. When your internal frequency doesn't match overflow, life will find ways to bring you back to your baseline. If scarcity is your identity, the universe will maintain that experience because it always returns to the dominant signal. This is why understanding verse 8 is so important. Paul says, "Having all you need, you will abound in every good work." This part describes output, your assignment, your expression, your contribution. Most people try to receive without producing, try to collect without creating, try to gather without generating. But abundance only makes sense when it has a place to go, not just a place to land. Overflow comes to those who know what to do with it. When you live as someone who is meant to circulate abundance, the universe ensures you always have something to circulate. This is where the quantum field and the biblical text meet perfectly. In quantum physics, energy stays flowing when it has a pathway. In Scripture, blessing flows pressed down, shaken together, running over, not because God is emotional, but because God is mechanical. There is a pattern. There is a law. And once you step into that frequency, you stop chasing abundance. Abundance chases you. Take a moment. Let that settle. If you're still here, hit that like button and let the algorithm know this message is needed. And tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like abundance comes in waves but doesn't stay? Your story might help someone else more than you know. Let's go even deeper. 2 Corinthians 9:8 is describing something radical. Grace abounds, right arrow, you receive, right arrow, you distribute, right arrow, more grace abounds, right arrow, you receive more, right arrow, you distribute more, and the cycle repeats. It's not a promise. It's a loop. A quantum circuit, just like electricity, just like ocean currents, just like breath, just like nature, just like harvest, just like the law of resonance. Everything in the universe operates in cycles. And this verse is showing you how to enter the abundance cycle. Here, how you activate it. 1. Shift your identity from container to conduit. You're not meant to hold abundance. You're meant to flow with it. 2. Give from intention, not fear. Your action is the signal that opens the circuit. Your frequency, not your amount, is what activates the loop. 3. Expect continuity, not flashes. You must believe abundance is normal for you. When sporadic blessing feels too good to be true, you break the circuit. 4. Keep your output aligned with your purpose. Overflow doesn't come so you can hoard it. It comes because you have something to build, support, create, or empower. You are part of the circuit, not the endpoint of it. Now let me give you a practical mental shift that will change your relationship with money instantly. Stop asking, "How do I get more?" Start asking, "What am I supposed to circulate?" This one shift transforms your frequency. You stop vibrating at lack. You stop vibrating at need. You start vibrating at purpose. You start vibrating at flow. And the universe matches that signal. Because in spiritual law and in quantum mechanics, the signal always determines the supply. Let me close with something powerful. The verse doesn't say God gives you some things. It doesn't say sometimes. It doesn't say barely enough. It says, all grace, all things, at all times, all you need, abounding, overflowing, continuous. This is not a promise. This is a pattern. So the real question is, will God supply me? The real question is, am I plugged into the circuit where supply never stops? If you want deep dive videos on biblical quantum law, quantum faith, and activating the prosperity frequency, make sure you're subscribed. And share this with someone who needs to know that their abundance isn't missing. It's waiting for them to align. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.